All right, let's bring improvement services to order. Let it be recorded. Nenning, Nicholson, Vanderleest, Worry are present. Number one, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting, July 13th, 2016.
So moved.
Motion by Worry, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor? Ayes, motion carried. Two, approval of the agenda. Motion by
Motion.
Worry, second by Nenning, under discussion. Hear none. Oh, okay.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman, I'd
Worry.
make a motion to move number 5 up behind number 2.
Motion to move number 5 after number 2. Second, do I hear a second? Second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 5 will be after number 2. And I need a motion to approve the rest of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Worry, second by Nenning to approve the agenda. Under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, number 5, consideration with possible action on a request by Brian O'Leary at 1224 Nicolay Avenue for additional overnight parking exemptions.
We received an email from Alderman Weary on behalf of Alderman Weary on behalf of Mr. O'Leary requesting the additional exemptions, and that's all the information that we have on this.
Okay, Alderman Worry,
Well, I think the applicants are here, so I'd make a motion to open the floor.
motion to open the
Second.
floor from Worry, second by Nenning, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried.
Can I speak to the council?
Yes, Mr. O'Leary, why don't you approach the bench and state your case?
Got a phone, Mr. Chairman, too.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Lisa and I, we've lived in that house for, what, 14, 15 years?
16.
So as the family grew, our parking has grown as well. We have 3 boys and we have 3 cars, and the biggest concern I have is that when Lisa's mom, who comes from Minneapolis to stay overnight with us, then we have to call in. Previously, we were able to call in as many times as needed, and it wasn't an issue. We just had to take care of it before we went to bed. Now there's a 6-time limit, and Lisa's mom comes 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year. And then we just ran into this recently, where we have our camper stored, but then we pop it up in the front yard, and then we have parking issues as well. And then, as I stated earlier, we have 3 boys, and some of them have friends that drive now, and when they stay over, we have to call in the cars as well. So we have 3 problematic areas that we just need a little bit of help, and so we're asking for additional requests. And as I talked to Mr. Nicholson a little bit earlier, if we could ask for 10 additional to get us through the end of the year, we would be much appreciated.
Are you aware that when you call in, each time you call in, you're allowed up to 3 days, is it?
Actually, I think it's 7, sir.
I think it's 2 weeks.
Or is it?
It's 2 weeks, but it would have to be a contiguous event. It couldn't be one call in, have somebody there one night, off a night, on a night, off a night. It would have to be for a contiguous up to 2 weeks.
Anything else?
So for instance, if your in-laws came, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday would be a single occurrence, not 2
Sure.
occurrences.
Right.
Sure.
Any questions? No. Okay. Thank you, Mr. O'Leary.
Thanks. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
I'll entertain a motion to close the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Worry, second by Nenning. Close the floor. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Floor is now closed. What are the wishes of the committee?
Make a motion to approve an additional 10 for the remainder of the year. I did have a question, Director Grenier, perhaps before I finish the motion. Have we granted into the future, like for the following year, if we think the issue's going to arise?
That would be, I would characterize that as exceedingly rare. Typically, what we like to do is do them on an annual basis, and then somebody would have to come and demonstrate that the need exists for the following year.
All right, well, then the motion will be to approve 10 additional for this year.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Worry to approve additional 10. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, this is a recommendation that will go to the full city council next Tuesday. You're welcome to participate in the audience if you want.
I'm sure Chris will let me know what's happening. So.
Right.
But,
You can still come and enjoy the bunch of popcorn.
so what, what is it again?
Next Tuesday,
Next Tuesday? Okay.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, right,
Down the hall.
just right next door.
Maybe you can shoot me an email.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the heat.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, moving forward. Number 3, consideration with possible action and request by Apple Tree LLC to install streetlights on Indigo Bluff Drive and Peppergrass Drive within the Preserve Phase 2 subdivision project. Director Grenier.
Preserve is part of what previously had been the Baird Creek Preserve subdivision. Part that subdivision had been split into 2 separate pieces, one of which is now referred to as the Preserve. And this is out off of Huron Road, just north of Whittier Drive. The first phase of this went in a couple of years ago. The lots are selling well, so the developer is looking to put in phase 2, which will be lots number 29 through 52, as shown on the enclosure we provided for you as item number 3. As part of the subdivision, we do identify where streetlights are needed, and the initial installation cost is borne by the subdivision developer. There is a ongoing cost that currently is $14.47 per month, or $144 per year for those lights. So the recommendation from staff is to install 2 9,000 lumen LED streetlights within the preserve at the following locations: on Indigo Bluff Drive between lots 46 and 47 at WPSC Power Pedestal number 79EE46, and on Peppergrass Drive between lots 32 and 33 at Wisconsin Public Service Corporation Power Pedestal number 79DD37.
Okay, any questions from the committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve it.
Motion to approve by Nenning, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 4, consideration with possible action on request by Barton Design to enter into a developer's agreement for the construction of public infrastructure to support the Sand Ridge Park South subdivision. Director Grenier?
With subdivision development, we have had for several years, we've had 3 options on how a subdivision could go in. Option 1 is a more conventional approach where the city designs and builds the infrastructure. Option 2, the developer hires a consultant to do the design. They submit that design to the city and we construct the infrastructure under a city contract. Option 3 is the developer enter into a developer's agreement with the city. Under option 3, the developer can construct the infrastructure using a contractor of their choice, as long as the plans and specifications are submitted to our office for review and approval, and then we supervise and inspect the construction. One of the nice things for the developer is because the developer is building that on private property and ultimately dedicates that over to the city, at the time of construction, it's not considered public works construction under the state of Wisconsin, so they don't have to follow the public bidding process, which has a time component to it. They can execute contracts more quickly than we can, and as long as the rules are followed and it's constructed to our specs, then we accept the dedication of that. Given the timeliness and the desire of the developer to move forward yet this year, developer has requested to enter into a developer's agreement to utilize the option 3. We have provided you with a copy of the developer's agreement that has been used since about 2005 2004, 2005. There's some minor modifications we've made along the way to update insurances and things of that nature. But we have provided you with the draft developer's agreement for this subdivision, and staff does recommend entering into that agreement and authorizing, just verify, I believe this is executed. Okay, so this would be authorizing the execution of the agreement and authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute it.
So out of curiosity, where is Sandwich Park?
Sandridge Park is on the west side, north of West Point Road, and just to, we're not too far west.
Can I speak? Yeah, then I'm gonna say it's just in between.
Just one
Walmart.
second here. Let's just finish, Steve, and then we'll open up the
Okay.
floor for you.
He's representing the developer.
Okay.
So we're on West Point, and we're between Packerland and,
Okay, it's over there.
yeah, we're out on the west side and all
That's-
in Atlantic.
that's good enough.
Extension of Ferndale.
It's just
You
curious.
want to open up the floor for
Ferndale?
interested
Okay,
parties?
yeah.
Motion by Weary, second by Netting, to open up the floor for interested parties. Under discussion, here none, all in favor, nays, motion carried. Okay, the floor is now open, sir. You can state your name, and
Okay.
address, please, and then
Yeah, my name is Magnus
Elaborate.
Abelstein, and I live up in Suamico, and I am originally Swedish, just became American citizen, so my English is not perfect, far from. But anyhow, I have learned, working with Jim and with Matt down at Public Works, that next time it's time for subdivision, we will go with alternative 1 for sure. Because this alternative 3 is just a mess. And we don't save money. The only thing we might save is time, but if we would have done this in November last year, I just worked with this for 7 weeks, so I'm pretty new into it. But next time it's time for subdivision, we'll for sure go with the public doing it for us. It's cheaper, it's not faster, but it's simpler and it's cheaper. So this time we ended up, Bart bought this real estate in November, December last year, and he didn't have a clue about this. So the previous guy who sold it to him said, of course you do the groundwork. So it came like a shock for us when Jim started to educate me, and also I educated Bart, what it means, because that means that we take your role, which is totally insane. But now we are here, so now we have to fulfill it, and we also have to pay inspectors, we have to pay a lot of extra costs in it, but I learned. So hopefully I will stay with Bart in the next subdivision, we will for sure do it. I also learned that it is only 2 places almost in Wisconsin that you can do this yourself. Most of the places like Suamico, there's not an option. Government does it, I mean the city hall does it for you, and they just send an invoice. So it's very unusual what we have here in Green Bay. Unfortunately, I would have liked it to be the same here, then we would have a less problem. But that's it, to answer the question where it is, I would say it's just in between Walmart and the airport. If you draw a line in between there, it's just in
Okay.
between those two.
And I was just looking, it's about halfway between LeCount Road and Hillcrest Drive on West, just north of West Point.
Mm.
Yeah, we've done this before, and, you know, I would move to approve the staff recommendation.
let's close the floor
Oh,
first.
okay. Move to close
Sit
the
down.
floor.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else?
No,
Okay.
no.
Weary made a motion to close the floor, second by Enderlease. Under discussion, here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay.
Okay,
What are the
move-
wishes of the committee?
Move to approve the developers agreement as recommended by staff.
Motion by Netting to
Second.
approve, second by Weary to approve the developers agreement for the construction of public infrastructure to support Sand Ridge Park South subdivision. Okay, under discussion.
One quick
Steve?
item for the committee. As the consultant identified, this is a rather unique approach, and the reason that this was put into place, back when we first started doing the developers agreement for subdivisions, Public Works construction required contractors to be paid state prevailing wage. Doing a developers agreement did not carry that same requirement. They were exempt from prevailing wage, so some contractors found it, or some developers found it less expensive because of the prevailing wage requirements. With changes to the state prevailing wage law that came about through various budget initiatives over the last several years, residential subdivisions are now exempt from prevailing wage requirements within the state. And as of January 1st, 2017, all contracts will be exempt from prevailing wage. So that primary driving one of the two primary driving factors, one being prevailing wage, second being the timeliness aspect of execution of contract, one of those has largely gone away. So we are not seeing the volume of developers agreements we had in the past.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Moving forward, number
Good luck.
6.
It's good?
Good luck.
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
Congrats on this.
Actually, this is just a recommendation. It'll go to the full city council next Tuesday at 7 o'clock, right next door on the other side of the elevators.
Am I allowed to be there as well?
Yes, it's a public meeting.
Oh, okay. Tuesday at
7 o'clock.
7, okay,
Yes,
perfect.
sir.
Thanks.
Have a
Thanks
good
a lot.
night. Okay, number 6, consideration on request by Alderman Nicholson to review with possible action the policy on fees for mini sewer connection held over from July 13th, Improvement Service Committee meeting. Director Grenier.
We have provided for you a copy of a memo that was originally drafted in 2003 by Frank Dadham, who at that time was the Assistant Director of Public Works. And this talks about the requirements for connection to a storm sewer at the time of sale. The connection fees for a storm sewer are based upon the cost of installing a new storm connection or a lateral in a new development or subdivision. So these costs are calculated, when a new subdivision goes in, we take a look at the cost to install all the laterals, and we divide that by the total footage of lateral pipe that was installed to determine a cost per foot. That cost is then multiplied by a distance of 35 feet, which would be half of the width of a standard city right-of-way. This is done for both 6 and 12-inch diameter laterals, and then those fees are assessed back to the individual properties as a connection fee. That fee is the same whether we're connecting to a main in the street or to a mini storm. So the request that we had when we discussed this last month was, number one, how is that fee calculated? And number two, Alderman Nicholson believed that at some point in time, we didn't charge a fee, it was handled in some other mechanism. What we were able to determine, going back and looking at the record, this memo was drafted in 2003, but we also had a letter that was a copy of the standard letter that gets sent out to folks for mini storm that was dated 2001. So at least the records we had at our immediate disposal, we've been able to ascertain that this process for charging connection fees has existed in its current format for at least the last 16 years.
At the same cost.
No, the costs are updated on an annual basis,
Right.
based on the cost of
But
construction.
what I remember back in '02, Steve, I mean, aldermen were just flooding INS with requests for hookup for mini sewers.
Yep,
Okay, I can't believe that the fees or the connection fee or the cost was $850 people were paying this. Because I remember I put 2 of them on Abram Street, and I know that it
No.
wasn't
no,
$850.
back then, the cost, I believe in 2001 letter, I believe was $550.
Boy, I can't believe it was that much either.
That's
was?
that's what the letters, we
Okay.
looked at actual letters from 2001.
So what's driving up the cost then from
Cost of
550? Construction.
Yep, primarily construction materials, fuel, and labor costs.
Who does the, who does the hookup? I mean, if I put the request in at a certain address, who actually does the hookup? Do you contract that out?
It
Or
would
does the
be-
city do that?
No, city does not do any of the work. Depending on the timing, because there's 2 components to the connection. There would be providing a point of connection, that's our responsibility, and then the pipe from that point of connection, which is generally near the sidewalk area, back to the house, which is 100% the responsibility of the property owner. If a property owner who's on the mini storm list is able to get that piping installed from the house out to the point of connection by the time or at the time that we're coming through with mini storm, we'll make that connection for them. If instead we get the point of connection in there, we just put a cap on it, leave it for their connection at a future time, then they will make that connection with their contractor as they extend the pipe out to it.
So what would it cost the property owner if they timed it right for the city to be there to connect the
The
lateral?
connection fee is the same.
The same.
Yep.
Okay,
The
they still
biggest-
have to, go ahead.
The biggest savings that we typically see is if we get there, if we get there and the pipe is ready for us to connect to, oftentimes there's a sidewalk piece that needs to be
Yeah.
removed to make that connection, and we'll pick that sidewalk cost up, and a 5x5 piece of sidewalk is running between $100 and $125 right now.
So that would be the savings.
That's usually the
on
savings,
sidewalk.
correct.
Okay.
And the fact that our contractor will make the connection.
That you contract out.
Right.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for the committee?
I was just gonna ask you, Mr. Grenier, on a mini storm hookup, is it required, let's say you've been living in a house for 35 years and you don't have that connection. Is it required that you have to make that connection?
It is required if there is a point of connection for you to connect up to. If it's a situation, we've got a lot of spots within the city where there's old combined sewers, and there's not a lateral that's run out to the house. If there's a main in the street with no lateral out to the private property, then there is no point of connection, so you're not required to connect. If instead there is a lateral there, but you have not connected up to it, or if mini storm sewer goes in and runs past your property, there is now a valid point of connection, and you are then required by ordinance to hook up.
So in other words, your office does the footwork of getting out the letter saying that you have to have this done? Is that what you're?
That typically comes through the inspection department at time of sale when they do a
What time
home
of sale?
inspection.
Okay. So in other words, you're not going out and checking all these properties?
not.
Okay. There's a lot of people, you'll see them, the water will be running in the driveway or wherever, and in the middle of winter time, if it, you walk on the sidewalk past that place, you might end up slipping on your back,
Now, with that, there are a couple of different ways that mini storm can be ordered in. It can be requested by property owners through the alders, or it could be a nuisance condition that's noticed by staff, or more often nuisance conditions are brought to the attention of inspection department and those are ordered in. So a situation like you're describing, if they're discharging down the driveway or across sidewalk and it's creating an icing condition, a lot of times those are considered to be nuisance conditions by inspection department, and they bring forward the request to have the mini storm.
that's how that works then. Okay.
Well,
That's
then,
nice to know.
if the city's, basically, they have the authority to have that placed in, if the landowner wants it or not?
The inspection department would to remedy a nuisance condition. yes.
Okay, and then the property owner has to pay the $850.
$850.
That doesn't happen too often, does it?
We had two this year, I think.
Whereabouts?
I'd have to go back and take a look at the mini storm program, but
You didn't?
we
Okay.
usually have, I think this year was actually a light one on
Okay.
inspection order. We usually have 3 or 4 mini storms that go in under nuisance.
Is the
every year.
city capable of doing their own mini sewer construction
No,
hookup?
no, we don't have that kind of equipment.
Okay, what kind of equipment entails that,
You'd
Steve?
need a backhoe and a compactor and that kind of stuff.
Okay, we don't have a backhoe?
No,
We don't. Okay, all right. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions?
I think it makes sense to have the same connection fee here as we do for a connection to a main. So, that was the theory to begin with.
and Jim was just able to provide me a copy of the letter from '01, and the storm sewer connection fee in 2001 for a 6-inch was $420. So it's up to $850 now.
Okay, any other questions? Entertain a motion to receive and place on file.
So moved.
Motion by Weary, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 7, I'd like to hold until next month.
Move to hold. Second.
Motion by Nenning to hold for our next meeting, second by Weary, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 8, consideration of possible action on the request by Alderman Zima on behalf of all people who cross the Walnut Street Bridge, that the Department of Public Works provide emergency repairs to the railroad crossing at about 100 West Walnut Street. It's held over from July 13th, improvement services meeting. I know this surfaced before, Director Grenier.
Yep, what I can do is I can tell you under item A, to take an inventory of all the railroad crossings in the city of Green Bay that are in serious disrepair. Staff has completed that work. We came up with a list of about 23 crossings.
Completed.
Of those crossings, since our last meeting, we have worked with the CN to repair 9 of them.
9.
Those are Elgin, north of Larson, Baird at Eastman, Morrow, west of Henry, Henry, south of Baston, Elizabeth at University, Farland, west of Elizabeth, University at Elizabeth, McDonald at Phoebe, and McDonald at Alexander. We are still working with the CN to try to get a fix done for the Walnut at Pearl Crossing that Alderman Zima talked about specifically. That one doesn't need to be reconstructed. What looks like happened there is because vehicles going over the tracks, as you leave the track on the departure side, it's caused a hump or a shove in the asphalt. So we're working with the CN to see if we can get in there and do a very thin milling to take that hump out. That'll improve the rideability there. Last night at Finance Committee, there was discussion relative to apportionment of the stadium district money, and the balance of the money, which is somewhere between $800,000 and $1.2 million, has been targeted for infrastructure needs. And I was asked about that last night as to where we think we would be targeting that money. And one of the things we're going to be looking at is earmarking some of that, probably in the neighborhood of about $200,000 to go towards additional rail crossing repairs. So we will continue plugging away at this list in 2017. Relative to items B and C, those were actually sent off to Law Department and to the Mayor's office. Consistent with...
Is there any updates with B and C?
Those I don't have because they were actually sent off to Law Department and Mayor's office.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? If not, do you want to hold 8 until our next meeting? And then I can try to call the mayor and our law department to see what they have accomplished or tried to do. Or what are the wishes of the committee?
I think that you mentioned last time, at the last meeting, Mr. Grenier, that the railroad, they were trying to cooperate with some of the requests. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I think what, trying to read into the request that Alderman Zima had, I think he was frustrated and justifiably so, that it was taking so long to get some of these repairs effectuated. And I think instead of using legal options or having the mayor work with the League of Municipalities, we just simply changed our focus and instead of ordering the railroad and not getting any action, we took our own forces and we're working cooperatively with them. So I think, you may want to consult with Alder Zima to find out if he's in agreement or not. But I think we actually have addressed what he's asked us to do. The intent was to get things moving, and I think 9 crossings in 1 year when we haven't had any crossings done in the last 10 shows some pretty good progress.
My constituents have been very happy with those that were repaired in my district. And I did, a couple weeks ago, meet both the Commissioner of Railroads and the supervisor with CN. And I did compliment him on what was done and talk with him about the further repairs. We're not going to get everything done this year.
Correct.
Is the message, but both were very cooperative, spoke very cooperatively, and said that they had met with you, Steve, and that they want to cooperate with us. So I think we're on the right track.
Okay, what are the wishes of the committee?
Sounds like things are in the right, heading in the right direction, so I'll make a motion to receive and place on file.
Okay, motion by Weary to receive and place on file. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Nenning. Under discussion, Alderman Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if things backslide and they stop the cooperation, we can always bring things back up again, but it sounds like we have a, thanks Director Grenier for reaching out and doing whatever magic you did there, because it worked.
Well, to be honest with you, I think the difference was we put our own money in. And that made all the difference in the
Did
world.
they have to give permission?
Yes, they did, but that's
But
always
before
been,
they didn't, remember?
well, that's
When I
always
called you
been,
a couple of years ago, they
that-
wouldn't,
that's always been the jam, is they've told us that they don't have any money to do these repairs, and that's what's been holding it up. So when we put city funds in, even though the statutes are very clear, it's their responsibility.
right.
But if you keep running up against a brick wall, you know, if you keep asking the same question, you're gonna get the same answer. So we just simply decided we're gonna put our money in instead of waiting for them to put their money in, and that was the trick. So again, getting some of that money that's targeted for infrastructure and putting it to good immediate use in getting some more of these things. I will tell you, some of these crossings that were repaired are what we call low-hanging fruit, okay? One of the ones I'm looking at for next year is on Quincy. So Quincy at Eastman up by Procter and Gamble.
Right.
Between Georgia Pacific and P&G. That's a bad one. That's the one that cost me $800 worth of tires on my vehicle.
That's why I
And,
stay on the west side.
well, the whole crossing has gotten bad now. Those crossing materials are about $1,000 a foot, and we're looking at 80 feet, so that's $80,000 worth of crossing materials, and there's 2 crossings there, so it's $160,000 just to get that one small section on Quincy done. But again, you know, what CN has indicated is if there's a funding source, they're happy to do the work, but they're claiming they don't have the funds. We just, if we supply the funds, I think we're gonna get a lot more done.
Okay.
Jump.
Any other questions, concerns? What?
Jump over the railroad?
All in favor?
I,
Nays, nays, motion carried. Okay, number 9. Consideration with possible action on request by Alderman Zima that the city consider placing a sidewalk through Seymour Park to connect South Oakland Avenue that is divided by the park using neighborhood enhancement funds or regular city funds. Director Grenier.
Okay, there are 2 cul-de-sacs on South Oakland Avenue that are separated by Seymour Park. I did have a phone conversation with Alderman Zima. We talked about where he was interested in potentially seeing a sidewalk placed. I printed off an aerial photo of the park, and upon agreement between Alderman Zima and I left that in his mailbox and asked him to mark it up so that we have an exact location of where the sidewalk should go. And once we receive that back, we can make a decision as to how best to go forward with that. To date, I have not received anything back from Alderman Zima. What I will tell you is these 2 pieces of sidewalk are completely contained within Seymour Park, so we would recommend that that go to Parks Department for inclusion in their capital program. That would not necessarily be a city sidewalk that DPW would have jurisdiction on. That would be within a parkway, so that would go to Parks.
Okay, so what do you recommend? We send this to Parks?
Recommend that this would go to Parks for inclusion in their 2017 program if necessary.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, or does it say it's going to Parks?
To go to Parks.
Okay, motion to send
Second.
this request of Mr. Zima to the Parks Department. And there's a second by Worry. Under discussion?
makes sense.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 10, consideration with possible action on the request by the Department of Public Works, approval of amendment number 2 for professional service agreement between the city and, how do you pronounce it?
Errors.
Ayers Associates Incorporated in the amount of $24,900. Director Kinnear.
When we put the original scope out, in order to make sure that we had everybody on a level playing field, we assumed the number of title searches that would be required for real estate acquisition as part of the Webster Avenue project. Now that we have a design going forward, rather than the 10 that were in the proposal, there's actually 24
Yep.
that need to be completed. So $5,800 of this is relative to the title reports for the additional properties. $5,000 is relative to the additional plat work. With the final design now coming out of council a few weeks ago, there's some additional topographic survey, $5,600, to design the termination of the alleys on the east side of Webster Avenue where the recreational trail will go through. And as we alluded to with that discussion, to revise that typical section, there was going to be some cost. The cost to do the new design for the new typical section is $8,500. So the total change order being requested is $24,900.
Any questions or concerns from the committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Worry, second by Nenning. Under discussion? Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 11, consideration with possible action and request by the Department of Public Works to authorize the purchase of a sewer line rapid assessment tool from InfoSense as a sole source provider. Director Grenier.
As part of the 2016 budget, we included a couple of pieces of equipment that are for use within our sewer section. One of them is this sewer line rapid assessment tool, or an SLRAT. What it does is it uses a radio signal that travels along the sewer pipe to help give us another assessment tool to find out the condition of that pipe. This was approved as part of the budget. What we're looking to do is to sole source it. There are no other commodity vendors who offer a similar piece of equipment, so because it's not being competitively bid, but we're rather going to a specific vendor, we're asking for approval of the sole source and allowing us to expend the funds that were approved as part of the 2016 budget process.
Okay, any questions, concerns from the committee?
Within the budget?
Yes, this was actually part of our budget.
Move to approve the RAT.
Second.
Motion to approve by Nenning, second by Worry. Under discussion? Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 12, consideration with possible action on request by the Department of Public Works to authorize the purchase of Smart Cover monitoring systems as a sole source product / provider. Director Grenier.
Very similar kind of a discussion. Again, these smart covers, it's a manhole cover that's got a ultrasonic device inside of it for measuring flow depth in the sewer. Again, it's a sole source provider. There's only one person who manufactures this piece of equipment. Again, we requested a few of these to be, 5 of these to be purchased as part of the 2016 budget, so this is all part of our budgeted funds. Number one, in order to expend the funds that were approved in the budget, we've got to come back because it's a large dollar expenditure. And again, there is only one vendor who provides these things, and this was all included. The research into the vendors was done prior to the budgeting process, so we're requesting approval of the sole source as well as the expenditure of funding.
Any
What is the
questions?
cost? What is the
Alderman
cost of-
Vanderleest.
What is the cost of this, you're buying, how many are you buying?
We're buying 5 of them. They're $6,000 a piece.
I know
They use them basically on, they're just for monitoring?
Yes, and the nice thing is we can pick them up. It's the way that we inventory manhole castings is we use the same frame for both sanitary and storm sewer. It's just the cover that's different. These will fit both our sanitary and our storm, so we can use it for getting flow depths in our sanitary and our storm sewers. And they'll fit on just about every casting that we've placed within the last 25 years.
It's done with a chip type operation?
There's actually a probe that hangs down.
Okay, and then you can actually access it from a computer?
Yeah,
Okay. Latest technologies, you don't have to open the cover to see what's under there.
and I believe they have data logging capabilities. So there's a computer chip actually in the device that will log readings over time, and we'll be able to get a window over time and see what those flow volumes are doing, especially on the storm sewers. That really works out nice. We can put these in our problem areas and before a rainstorm, and then we'll be able to see how much flow is in there before the rain comes, how long after the rain the flow comes through that particular segment, and how high it gets, and then how long it takes before that flow dissipates and goes back to our base flow. So again, all just more tools that we're looking to add to our box to help us relieve some of these storm sewer issues and then better serve the constituents as far as decisions we're making on modifying or upgrading storm and sanitary systems.
Anything else, John? No. Dave?
No. Move to approve.
Motion by Denning to approve, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. 13, discussion and possible action regarding the installation of sidewalks along Taylor's. Actually, I do have a question for that, Steve.
Sure.
Where are they being placed throughout the city? Is there one over by Imperial Lane?
We haven't decided where we're putting them yet
Okay.
until we actually buy them.
Okay. All right, moving forward. 13, discussion of possible action regarding the installation of sidewalks along Taylor Street and Dawson Street to Bond Street, levying of special assessments therefore. I believe Mr. Stoyer contacted me and he wants this held up. Is that what he told you, Dave? Or
I didn't talk to
John?
him.
I did talk to Mr. Stoyer, and he'd like it to be referred back. He would like to get another year, in other words, hold it off for a 12-month period. 'Cause I guess
Didn't we,
that's what he, okay.
didn't we discuss this before, and because that we had, the council had already approved the sidewalk installation, that we had to rescind? That, wasn't there something that we were
Well-
gonna check with the attorney's office to see if we had to?
That's what
rescind
came out of the
order?
committee at our last meeting, and then this got pulled on the council floor and referred back to committee, so we did not proceed
Yeah,
with any of those actions. But that's my interpretation. Again, I'm not legal counsel,
sure.
so this is an engineer interpreting.
But if he wants it considered a year from now, then we would have to somehow rescind the order. from
I believe
this
that to be
year.
the case, yes.
Mark was at a doctor's appointment at 4:30.
Yep.
He said he wasn't able to make it tonight. But his request was that they would delay it and give his constituents time frame to get everything in order, and then to actually, I think, have it installed for next season, for the next year.
Okay. How about if I move to rescind the order from this year with the intention of considering the project again next year
That's
Okay.
what he was after, basically.
and take appropriate action with that?
Motion to rescind and then take a look at this next year by Nenning, under, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
By Vanderleest, under discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. 14, consideration with possible action on report of purchasing manager. A, request approval to purchase a trailer from Badger Trailer for $10,400. Director Grenier.
We provided a summary of the bids as item number 15, or 14, excuse me. Trailer was bid out, we had 12 vendors respond. Badger Trailer and Truck was the low responsive bidder, total of $10,400, so recommendation would be to award to the low responsive bidder.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Worry, second by Denning, under discussion. Hear none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. 15, consideration with possible action on request by C Ventures LLC, construct a natural gas service and meter, an electrical service meter and panel, a roof access ladder, and a door swing area within the alley right away at 139 North Broadway. Director Grenier.
There is an alley that runs north-south between Hubbard Street and Dousman Street. No, Hubbard and Walnut, Shawano Avenue, immediately to the west of Broadway. So this would be behind the old Fort, south of the old Fort Square.
Right.
Okay. There is a building there that recently changed hands, and when the building was sold, they needed to upgrade and update their natural gas and electrical service. The only place to put those services, the mains are under the alley, so the meter sockets need to go on the outside of the building because the downtown on both sides of the river is zero lot line. That's actually within the city's right-of-way, but it is protected from vehicle access by some bollards. And staff does recommend entering into a hold harmless agreement to allow these objects to exist within the right-of-way.
Move to approve.
Okay, approved by Netting, second by Worry. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 16, consideration with possible action on an application for a concrete sidewalk builder's license by the following: A, Consolidated Construction Company; B, NNL Concrete Construction LLP; C, Titan Concrete LLC. Director Grenier.
N&L has held a license with the city in the past, so we do recommend approval of them. Consolidated Construction and Titan Concrete have not held licenses in the past. Staff is in the process of conducting the reference checks on those two contractors, and we would recommend approval pending a positive outcome on the reference check, and if the references are not favorable, granting the authority to the staff to deny those licenses.
I move to approve NNL Concrete and to authorize staff to authorize approval of A and C subject to staff concurrence. That good?
Sure.
Okay, what did you say, Dave?
I move to approve
A, B, and C?
Oh, no, move to approve B,
B,
and also to approve A and C with the provision that it meet the staff's approval after checking.
A conditional approval of A and
Conditional
C,
approval.
conditional approval of A and C pending a positive.
okay.
Reference
Do
check.
you have that?
Yep.
Okay. Motion by Netting
That's
to
all.
approve, second by Vanderleest, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 17, Director's Report.
Very brief director's report because, as you are probably well aware, we are in the middle of budget season. So staff is actively working on the budgets, trying to get that ready, so you folks have an opportunity to review that. And the only other thing that I did want to report is, since our last meeting, Department of Public Works is happy to announce within the engineering division, staff engineer Matt Wysek recently became a brand-new father, and staff engineer Chuck Yang became a father again. So we've got some new babies running around, hopefully some future engineers to help handle some workload around City Hall.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Question, Worry?
Director Grenier, I did have a question for you. At a Parks Committee meeting before this, we were advised that the Colburn pool was at the 75% completion mark.
Correct.
Is there an engineer assigned to help walk it through so that when the plans are done, bids can hopefully go out and be back by mid-October?
We have assigned somebody to conduct the bidability and buildability review of the 75% plans. Now, bear in mind, those plans are just plans. No specifications involved, and they are at 75%, so they are subject to change. This is kind of what we refer to as the 10,000 or the 30,000 foot review of those plans. When we get the 90% plans, we call that our 10,000 foot view. And then our pre-submittal plans, that's where we get down and we make sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. So yeah, they have been assigned to somebody and we're actively working on them.
Beautiful, thanks.
Any other questions or concerns for the Director? If not, take a motion, I'll entertain a motion to receive and place on file.
Receive and place in.
By Vanderleest, second by Netting, under discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Motion to adjourn by Worry, second by Netting, under discussion here now. We're adjourned.
Good job, gents.
It was a good meeting here.